So I grew up hunting. Actually, right back in this area here was where my dad and I built our first tree stand. You didn't have these metal things then. You had to build your own, had a lumber. And I started at 9 years old. We didn't think much of hunting laws. So my dad just took me out with him and always told me if we encounter anybody, just tell him I'm watching, just sitting in the tree stand with him. I had a gun, which was crazy. The gun I started hunting with was an open-sighted 30-30 Winchester. And I did kill a deer. I hit a deer my first year. We tracked it a long way, and we never did find it. I was a bad shot. I got buck fever. And then the second year, I did indeed get a deer. So I got my first buck when I was 10 years old. And my dad handed me the knife and said, "You killed it, you got it." This is the knife in question, the Buck 112. The 110 is much more common, but this is the first knife I ever owned. My dad gave this to me when I was 9 years old to go hunting. And as I said, I gutted my first deer with this guy, or started to gut my first deer with this guy when I was 10 years old. He watched me struggle for like 10 seconds and said, give it to me. I knew he was worried about me hitting the shit sack, so he took it back off and gutted it for me, but he made me pull out the organs. And that warm, wet feeling and that smell, can't say I loved it. I just sharpened it, made sure I put a extra sharp point on it. You really need that to get in there and split that skin. But this is a beautiful knife, quite heavy, and I wasn't fond of the way this carried on my side. So I had a front carry sheath made. Let me show you that. So this is what I mean right here. This rides on my belt nice and tight. I probably made this a little bit too tight, but because it's my first knife, I was worried about it falling out. So it's a little bit difficult to get out, but I know when I'm walking through the woods, it's not going to fall out. You can hear it has that positive snap. Hear that? So not going anywhere. And I just don't even notice it's there. I like that a lot better than side carry. If I could carry every knife like this, I would. But mostly the reason I don't hunt anymore is I love the woods, but I just don't want to sit up here in a tree stand shivering my ass off for hours on end to get food when I can go to the grocery store. So there are many memories and lessons I took away from my days of hunting, not just of the time spent in the tree stand or walking through the woods with my dad, which of course is cherished time, but my dad was a traditional hunter in the sense that you had to get up at 3 a.m, be in your tree stand no later than 5. And when you're a young boy shivering your ass off in a tree stand with inferior gear, we did not have gear like they make now. You were just shivering out there in a little orange cotton suit. And as daylight started to break, every stump had its chance to be a deer that you thought you could shoot. And every strange log in the wood had its chance to be Nessie. I don't know what Nessie would be doing out there, but there was a certain fear that you had to conquer of being in the woods early in the morning, even with your dad, but especially when you got a little older and you were by yourself. So I'm glad, if for no other reason, that we had to get up early, be in the woods, and conquer our fear. The other thing you learn, of course, is how to stay quiet and look and listen and take in your surroundings. Valuable lesson. I was never very good at it. I would always fidget. My dad would touch my leg. Shh, look, pay attention. Or I'd fall asleep and he'd wake me up. You're sleeping, pay attention. This is a funny story, but one time I was nodding off, and in that kind of half woken, langorious state, there was a chipmunk or a squirrel, I can't remember which, and it was running down the log towards me, and it was so close in my peripheral sight that I thought it was a deer, and I jumped up and I said, "Deer!" And my dad started cracking up laughing because it was a chipmunk, not a deer. Every stump had its chance to be a deer. That said, though, man, there is something primitive and unique and special about killing your own food and putting it on your table, isn't there? All right, I'm gonna go check the game trail. There's a big buck I've been tracking. So on a rainy day like today, something my dad would teach me is how to walk through some brush like this and then stop suddenly. Because I'm not kidding you, there could be a deer bedded down right here and I wouldn't see it until I almost stepped on her. So the stalking tactic is meant to like startle the deer. Because when you freeze and you look around, I remember looking at every pile of brush just like that, thinking there could be a deer hiding in there. It was the most exciting part about hunting for me was the stalking. I didn't like the tree stand hunting, the passive hunting, but the active hunting appealed to me. So another thing that teaching your kids hunting and fishing can do for them is what it did for me, which was develop a love for nature and the woods. So one time I got lost when I was pushing some deer to my dad, or attempting to. It was the first time I realized what backtracking actually meant. So you know the word, of course, in your little boy mind, but it had never occurred to me that it had a very practical meaning. I got lost in the snow, light snow, and I realized I could just follow my tracks backtracking. It's weird how you don't put those things together when you're young. I had a friend in kindergarten, I think. His last name was Braintree, and it never occurred to him to like picture a brain perched up in a tree or a tree as a brain. It was just his name. Words are weird like that. They're just sounds. Doobly-doo. So the last thing I want to say as I walk home here is hunting also taught me that it's important to be out in the woods in different weather, that you don't have to stay in just because it's a little dreary or because it's a blizzard. I absolutely love these days because I know I'm alone. And if you guys are isolados or have that nature, you know what I mean. I get refueled by that. The holiday season is very, it just takes a lot for me to be on. I'm not socially inept. I'm very good at social situations. I can be gregarious. I can be charming. I can have intelligent conversations. I can shoot the shit or exchange persiflage, if you will. But I don't enjoy it. Or at least that's what I tell myself. I do enjoy it more than I think I do. But what I'm trying to say is I have to go to the woods to recharge. And being out in all weathers and learning how to dress for it is something I definitely learned from hunting and growing up in this area, but especially from hunting. If you don't dress right, and again, the gear is a lot better now than it was when I was young, but if you don't dress right, you're gonna freeze your balls off. That's what good pipe tobacco is supposed to look like, not that flaky stuff you get in the dollar store. That's what I like. Should look like good beef jerky. I like the tins. This size of a tin, resealable, easy to carry. A couple of geese are lost up there. They don't even bother to go south for the winter anymore. They just stay here. I mean, this is south for them, right? Canadian geese, they'll go north in the summer.